Good evening, everyone.
Time, I think you can call.
I'm calling the Audit and Finance Committee meeting to order. It is July 29th, 2021. It is now 6:36, according to my iPhone. And I just want to say, I'm happy to see everyone around the table and ready to get to work. So, we're going to start with attendance. Ms. Kennedy?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman. Willingham,
Present.
Peter, Bergdorf,
Present.
Clay,
Present.
Grimm, Joyce, Lakakis. Yes. Mayo,
Here.
and O'Brien.
Here.
6 present, Madam Chairwoman.
Very much. All right, we're gonna move right along here. We're going to set another record today. I have great members around the table, and we're gonna get business taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Great. Number one, Ms. Kennedy.
The first item is approving the previous meeting minutes.
I got a motion? Is that a motion from Mr. Bergdorf? I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Number two.
Item 2 is authorizing a one-time amnesty period for a reduction of interest charged on delinquent property taxes. This is tabled at the request of the sponsor. Item 3 is adopting the proposed 2022 to 2026 Albany County Capital Program. Dave?
Ms. Riley?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the item for the 2022 to 2026 capital plan. The public hearing was, I believe, Tuesday. No comments on it, so here for any questions if you have any.
All right.
Motion moved.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item 4 is authorizing a correction to the tax roll for the city of Cohoes.
So you gonna speak to that also, Mr. Riley?
I can, in Mr. McGuire's absence, let me just pull up his cover letter here quickly. So this was a correction to the tax rolls. This falls under the exempt upon acquisition statute that the state passed for the land banks. So as the land bank acquires the property, it becomes tax exempt. This is just to correct that so they don't have to pay the bill on it.
I got a motion from Mr. Kakis. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Slatsky, are you with us?
Yes, thank you.
You're good.
Item 5 is authorizing an agreement with Ferran, Martello, and Marone CPAs LLP regarding ongoing accounting and consulting services at the Shager Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
This is a 3-year contract with Ferran, Martello, and Marone. They've been the nursing homes accountants probably for around 2 decades now. They're responsible for our Medicare and Medicaid cost reports. This is at a cost of $131,700 and includes 2 one-year renewal options.
So it's we're talking about 5 years, except is the total cost $131,000?
The 3-year contract will be a cost at $131,700.
Okay, so now let me ask you this.
$700, I'm sorry.
I see here where it says with 2 one-year renewal options. So if 3 years is $131,000, is there an amount that, for
It would
each?
be 1/3 for each
1/3.
one of those years. It's the same dollar amount.
But we still have to come back to us for those 2 one-year options.
Correct.
All right, any questions from the members in regards to this?
I have one, Madam Chair.
Mr. O'Brien?
Did this go out to bid at all?
Yes.
Oh, it has,
The RFP was 2021-075.
okay. I didn't know.
So we had 2 bids, is that correct?
I'm not sure how many companies bid on this. I will give you right now.
Shows 2 in the back,
2 in the back.
with a $300 difference between the
Yeah,
two.
there's HMM, the Nido Group. So there were 2 companies that bid.
Okay.
Motion moved.
Yes,
Motion moved.
I got,
Second.
I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien, I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much. Kennedy?
Item 6 is authorizing an agreement with Ronco Specialized Systems regarding a nurse call integration system for Shaker Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
Mr. Slafsky?
Yes, this will be a system that allows the nursing assistants to wear devices that allow them to know when a call bell is rung. It'll also allow the nursing staff to locate CNAs or nurses where they are on the unit. You know, our nursing home is pretty large now, especially on the evening and night shift. We need to know where the staff is and when residents need staff. This will do both. We didn't get this originally, even though it ties into our original call bell system, because we didn't know which device would work best, understanding our new environment, so we waited till now. This will be a lease agreement for 60 months, because technology changes, equipment changes. We don't want to buy something that becomes outdated in 3 or 4 years. This will allow us to have equipment that we don't own, but we lease, and that the company will maintain during the course of the 60-month lease. The total cost is $115,000 during the 60-month period, which is 5 years.
Ms. Bergdorf?
Quick question, Larry. You say it's a 5-year warranty, but yet in the backup it says Ronco 1-year labor warranty.
There's a labor warranty of only 1 year. So if something,
The hardware
The hardware.
is 5 years,
the hardware, well, the lease is 5 years.
yeah?
If a piece of equipment is missing, lost, we would be responsible for that. Software upgrades are included within this dollar amount.
Okay, but what would be an example of labor after 1 year?
Well, it could be possible that some of the equipment breaks, some new equipment may be needed. We put it in there just in case something might be needed over a 5-year period. It's a long period of time. Right now, we would think, and that's why we're leasing, this is very simple, communication system within our system. I don't think that much is going to happen to it, but things do in the IT world change over a very short period of time, and we don't want to buy something that becomes outdated. And the total, the cost per year, excluding the above, is $21,391, so it's really not that bad. And it's for all 6 units, all 3 shifts. I'll tell you in a second. I actually have that here.
Oh, is it 30?
Here, yes, we have 30 handsets, 30 replaceable batteries, 30 belt clip holsters, 30, 30, 30. 30 of each. So that would be 6 per unit. That allows, on days we have the most staff, there's 6 CNAs, 5 CNAs rather, and 1 nurse. And that would allow us to capture all the people that are working on each unit, 30, 6 times 3, right? So that would work out pretty well. It's mainly for the CNAs, so that they can communicate to the nurses, and vice versa.
What's the census?
Right now, this morning was 209.
And we have 5 units or 6? You said 5?
Right, we have 6 units. We have a total of census that we could grow to of 250. Right now, we could discuss how the census can grow and when it should grow. But we could fill this nursing home pretty quickly right now. We were trying to coordinate census to staffing, to make sure care remains the way it should.
So how many CNAs to a nurse? You said 6?
Well, right now, on the day shifts, if we filled all the positions, which they're not, but if they were all filled, we would have 5 CNAs and 3 nurses. This equipment is primarily for the CNAs. So when the CNAs are on the unit, the nurses know where they are. And the call bell system will tie in to these devices,
So you said if. You said if we had 5.
if we had 5.
If we had 3. So what do we have?
Right now, on average, on the day shift, we have approximately 3 CNAs on each of the units that are here every day. 3, our master staffing plan is 5,
So we have 3 CNAs, and for each.
on
unit,
average.
On average, how many residents in each unit?
Well, it differs. We have a maximum of 42. Some
Each unit?
residents, we could have a maximum of 42 per unit. Some residents, the total amount on some units are 30, and on some units as high as 40. So we're getting up there. I mean, we have 40 empty beds, which is around 8, on average 8 per unit. It's not a lot of empties in the big picture, understanding the staffing pattern and the size of the nursing home.
Mr. O'Brien?
When do you foresee a full census, 250,
Well,
this year?
we could, if we continue to admit those people that want to come to our nursing home and the referrals we're now getting, we probably could fill the nursing home by the end of September. However, I think we have an obligation and responsibility to make sure that everyone we do admit can be appropriately cared for. And therefore, we monitor our staffing pattern to the census and the care needs of those people living there to make sure that there's a balance. And as long as we maintain that balance and we feel we could continue to admit to a higher census, we will. If we feel that the staffing pattern is just not consistent with the amount of work that needs to be done and the care needs, then we have to kind of hold off on the admission or limit admissions based on the staffing pattern.
And how is the staff? Are you having trouble filling positions?
Yes, I think the entire industry is. We do everything that we can. It's a problem. I have to admit it, it's a problem. It's been a problem. And staff are working unbelievably hard. We have, I think, one of the most sincere, dedicated, loyal individuals working at Shaker Place that I've ever been around. These people, I can't even begin to tell you what they do every single day, caring for our population. They're great. But, a lot of it is done with overtime. A lot of it is done with people from other departments helping out, people from housekeeping, dietary, doing one-on-ones for us, staying after their shift, helping to feed residents after they've gone through our training program. Everyone's pitching in, doing what they can during these difficult times. But it's going to change. It'll get better, and our nursing home will be filled, and the staffing, the vacant positions will also be filled.
Do I have any other
Madam
questions?
Chairwoman,
Ms. Bricker?
is there anything, you say that the staffing will ultimately be filled. When I hear you say that optimum staffing levels during the day are 5 CNAs and we're operating at 3, that means we're at 60% of our recommended healthcare capacity. Is it all dollars and cents, Larry, or is it work? I mean, at one point in time, we said people didn't want to work in those conditions, and now we've got good conditions in a brand new nursing home. What do we have to do to help you get to the correct staffing levels?
I don't really have an answer for you today. I wish I did. I think that the competition out there, just for workforce in general, is very difficult. If you want to compete with every market out there, then where do you stop? Our healthcare, salaries now for CNAs are appropriate. They're correct. You did the right thing a couple of years ago. They're where they need to be. people don't look at benefit structure. You know, they have the best pension plan and health plan that the Albany region, or maybe even New York State has to offer. Yet when you could work at Amazon driving a truck for $19 an hour, you know, and they don't care about pension and health, and we're starting them at 17 or really 15.80, and even if we paid them the max that's starting, it's still around 18, and they could work for 18 or 19 or 20 with a $3,000 signing bonus, you know, where are they going to go? So, and how many, supply just can't meet demand, so how many people are out there that we could get to come into our workforce? So we're doing other things. We're working now with, actually Job Corps, you know, Glenmont Job Corps. We're gonna create a new program where they're gonna teach people, CNAs, educate them in our building, and they'll stay there for 2 years. We're working on that program right now. It starts the second week in August. We hope to get people there. In the last 6 months, we, with the Audit nursing home, just that I'm aware of, that actually had training programs, the LPNs and CNAs. 2 months ago, we had 70 people from BOCES, St. Mary's, Mildred Ellie in our facility at the same time. Over 70 people getting their training in our nursing home. So they love our building, our reputation's out there, but when they graduate, you could be an LPN, even what we're gonna look at tonight, you could work in a hospital for 50,000 or work for us for 43, which is almost similar benefits, and you're an LPN. Our starting RN salary, as we speak today, for regular RNs, staff RNs, is 54,000, 54. I mean, RNs are starting at 65, 70, no matter where you work. So some of it has to do with base salary, some of it has to do with supply and demand. There's a lot of different issues out there, and we're weighing them all out. You don't wanna jump in and make a decision and all of a sudden pay more when you didn't have to. I think we have to do it slowly, but do it the right way.
Mr. Mayor,
Larry, how much, if there's 39 empty beds, how much approximately are we losing per year?
Well, on the average, you could say that every empty bed, at a minimum, but let's use the Medicaid rate, is $300 a day, minimum. We've now raised our Medicare rate, average Medicare rate, to over 500 a day.
So we're looking at, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we're looking at.
I will tell you that when the nursing home's filled and the staffing patterns where it should be and it will be, we will be doing fine. Okay, this nursing home will be able to hold its own in its entirety. And we're hoping that that'll be toward the latter part of this year, if we can continue collectively and all of us working together to figure out the best way to deal with the staffing issues, which we do every day, by the way.
So we're looking at a loss of $3.5 million approximately.
At least.
So, I mean, I know you said the staffing pay is appropriate, but maybe should we make it more than appropriate? I mean, if we're losing $3.5 million and we spend $300,000.
It's a tough decision, so we do it, you know, to see if it works. Right now, I'm gonna present to you very shortly increases to the LPN salaries that are significantly below mean. Our average nursing home salary, our starting salary, not average, starting salary is $37,099 a year. We're raising every line, even though half of them are vacant, more than half of them are vacant, by $6,000. So that means the starting salary will now be from $37,099 to $43,099. If you're making $43,000, your salary now is gonna go to $49,000. Everyone gets a $6,000 raise. That will bring everyone to the mean of the Albany region based on our association's numbers. That's both associations, what the capital region is paying LPNs. The starting salary will now be $43,000. Will that stop the bleeding, people leaving to go across the street for 43, 45? We hope so, we believe so. Will it allow a lot of LPNs out there to come back? Again, we hope so. Let's see. Can you make it 10? Can you make it 15? Yeah, sure. 6 is the mean. We're bringing it to a regular mean amount from 37 to 43. It's common sense, it makes sense. It's what the average amount is being paid to LPNs. It will bring the people that have been there for 20, 25 years from 43 to 49. Some of them are at 46. Okay, they will go to 52. They're gonna be where they should have been. Okay? We believe that will stop people from leaving and really truly help with retention. Now, will it bring people back and will it help us recruit? Let's see. If it's not, I'll come back and let you know.
Okay.
I just have one question. Does the federal allowance that's paid for Medicare and Medicaid, does it allow you, us to pay? Is it at a level now where it actually allows us to make these changes in salary?
Oh, you can make any change you want to salary. Right now, nursing homes get reimbursed. You know, this is, you know what, January 1 for the most part, you know what you're gonna make the entire year based on census. The things that change it is case mix. That's why we have our, MDS consultants, and quality measures, okay, which is, we're doing unbelievably well. I mean, we're kind of getting off the topic, but these quality measures, we're doing so well. We went up 50 points. We're waiting to see where we go. We may go from the 5th percentile up to the 2nd or maybe even the 1st percentile, which will increase our reimbursement significantly. We're waiting for this. You know, all of these things that we've been doing over the years in quality are coming to fruition now. And it all has an effect on reimbursement, but it's one number. Medicare is one number. You have to spend within that number. If you don't spend within that number, you lose money. So if you want to become unbelievably competitive and go out of business at the same time, you could do that. If the average rate is $55,000 for an RN, and you want to pay $75 to make sure everyone comes to work for you, they probably will come for work for you. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be in business, meaning you're going to be spending a lot more money than you earn.
Mrs. Harris?
This is kind of a chicken or an egg question, with your employer, with your hiring problems. I was wondering, do you think the transportation impacts who comes to work at the nursing home at all?
Say that again,
Do
please.
you think that transportation access impacts, like, is it that people don't want to come to the nursing home? I work in the building where Mildred Ellie is, and a lot of those people get off the bus and come in and go to class. And so I'm thinking they can't really go and work at the nursing home unless they were going to invest in a car, because it has to be a reliable car, and it's like training programs that are out in the middle of nowhere. So I just wondered if you thought that had an impact, and if there's anything that we could do.
I think it has a slight impact. I mean, clearly, the bus service used to stop in front of our nursing home
We
3,
can
4,
talk about
5
that.
times a day. We worked diligently, and they did whatever they could downtown. I mean, the people I work with, George Penn and everyone, Mike McLaughlin, I mean, everybody did their best to, work with, the bus companies and work everything out as best we could. They're also facing, traumatic financial issues. Whether we contribute, to that service or not, it's just really not enough. I mean, it costs a fortune to run a bus company. They did work things out now with the Flex Bus. We're having some success with that. It doesn't seem to be an issue. It may be an issue with new people starting. Clearly, it would be great if the bus continued to stop in front of our nursing home.
Sure.
Versus having, I get out of my house as an example, and there's a car waiting for me. You get in, you go to work, right, like a bus. If someone had that luxury versus having to call an Uber or go call someone, that's what staff are being required to do. Instead of getting out of their home, walking to the corner, getting on a bus that eventually will take them to the nursing home, which is convenient. They now have to basically use Flex Bus, which is like using an Uber. It's much more complicated. It costs more money, by the way. But it seems to be working. The actual impact that it has on new people or people leaving, I really can't measure that right now.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I Got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Kennedy?
Item 7 is amending the 2021 Department of Residential Healthcare Facilities budget for security guards.
Yeah, this will take, we now have the 2 part-time positions in our budget for security guards. We've really been unable to replace them. What we're looking to do is to remove the 2 part-time security guard positions, replace it with 1 full-time security guard position. And this will actually have an annual savings to our current budget and future budgets.
Make a motion.
Motion.
Nestor's questions.
I got a question.
Well, you are in charge.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I don't mind.
It says here, how many security guards do we have now?
4.
Oh, we have 4.
We have 4 full-time security guards, but we cover 24/7, okay, days off, all 3 shifts. You know, one thing with the new building, and we have phenomenal security, everything's locked
So now
and
we'll have
cambered,
5?
and we basically maintain the front door.
So we'll have 5 now?
We will end up with 5, yes.
Very good. Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay. Mr. Katkis, motion, and Mr. Bergdorf, please, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Item 8 is amending the 2021 Department of Residential Healthcare Facilities budget.
You know, all of our feelers to the associations and did our homework. And we know that the mean salary for LPNs are, in our area, is approximately $43,000. That's the mean. Where our starting salary is $37,000. You can't give just a $6,000 raise to $37,000 people to 43. It'll bring them past those that are at 42. So the appropriate way and the right way to do this is to change our budget, increasing every LPN line by $6,000. However, only 1/3 of the current lines are filled. So the actual increase, even though it talks about almost $180,000 for the LPN increase, the real increase to get us through the end of the year is only approximately around $40,000 to make this increase happen. And in the 2022 budget, we've already included the $6,000 increase on every budget line, which we will present at a later time toward the latter part of the year. So this increase actually will cost the nursing home around $40,000 to give everyone who works there a $6,000 raise from now to the end of the year.
You said 40,000?
Approximately.
What's 90,000?
90,000 is when I originally created this RLA, would have been from June to the end of the year. The whole year is 180, half the year was 90, but even the 90 would be if every position in our budget was filled. Being that it's not, the 90 becomes 45. Now that we're already in August, so to speak, the 45 is more like, you know, closer to 40, 38,000 to get us to the end of the year.
So my question is, does the appropriation amount of 186,000, is that changed also?
No, the 186,000, which includes also 2 other titles that need to be adjusted, would be from January 1, 2022, for the entire year, if every single budget line had a person in it. The way our budget works, the line item budget, I have to change every budget line to the appropriate amount. That total would total $186,000. If it was for an entire year and every budget line was filled. We have made that adjustment for 2022. It's already in the budget, all of these amounts, and of course, we budgeted for it, making it as balanced as we could.
Good.
Mr. O'Brien? I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien, I got a second from Mr. Mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much,
Delighted.
Mr.
All right.
Thank you
It's
for
been a
your
pleasure.
report. It's very
You know,
much
I really have
appreciated.
been, you know,
And,
it is
we
enjoyable
appreciate you
talking to
taking the
everyone
time
and telling you
come
what's
out
going on,
and-
so.
And give us a nice review too.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye now, thank you.
Hey.
I know, so it's back. I don't, okay. All right,
Item 9 is rescinding authorization to convey real property pursuant to resolution number 439 for 2020, and authorizing the conveyance of 8 Delaware Street in the city of Albany.
So, Madam Chairwoman, this property was originally authorized to transfer to the land bank. We were approached by the abutting owner of the Walls Temple AME Zion Church. They're gonna use it to expand out for some parking and also to use it for some community space. It's in the city of Albany, Delaware Street, as you said.
very good.
So there is a house on
What's that?
it? There is a house on it?
I believe it's vacant land, yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's what I
300
thought, and then it says something about two-family dwelling on one of the
It's
pieces.
because
That's what it's called?
yeah.
Okay,
That's what it's
that's what I
on.
figured, but.
Everything at one time's had a structure on it, unfortunately, not always.
Make a motion. Mr. O'Brien, I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien, I got a second from Mr. Clay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much.
Item 10 is authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 4092 Albany Street in the town of Colony.
So, Madam Chairwoman, this is what we refer to as a withdrawn parcel. There was concerns about potential environmental impacts that, so we take the, kind of out of the cycle. This was done via a sealed bid auction. The applicant here his bid is $3,000. He was the only one that applied to the auction.
Got a motion from Mr. Clay, got a second from Mr. O'Brien, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 11 is a public hearing regarding multiple community development block grant applications.
Mr. Rogers?
Good evening, how you doing?
Very good.
So this item pertains to request for public hearing specific to the CARES CDBG funding availability. So there's annual CDBG availabilities. This was a specific product of the CARES Act, and funds were allocated into certain buckets that were allowable. So we took those, lined them up with the areas where the county provides services, and I mean subject areas, and the two best fits for the funding had to do with housing, using the land bank as a subrecipient, and mental health services. So process-wise, you submit a pre-application that gets vetted by the folks at New York State HCR. You schedule, that actually happened this morning. You schedule a public hearing for pre-application. That's kind of unique to the CDBG program. And then you finalize the grant and submit it. So happy to answer any questions. At a high level, the first program is a land bank utilizing this funding to really tackle some of their most challenging properties. These are properties where the amount of investment needed to rehabilitate the house is significantly higher than the value or even the ultimate value of the house. So they're tough properties to rehabilitate. The second is has to do with mental health, and what we did, Patrick and I worked with Dr. Giordano to identify some of the emerging potential costs and also some areas where we could be on the cutting edge and use this funding to invest in a way that hopefully will be able to allow us to leverage more funds in the future. So happy to answer any questions. Again, this is just for the public hearing, but any questions about the applications themselves, feel free.
Ms. Bergdorf?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Luke, in my years here, I have never seen anybody show up at any of these community hearings. When I was with the town of Colony, when we had HUD block grants, there would be scores of different organizations looking, you know, to get a piece of those block grants. Is this pre-approval for housing and innovative mental health programming, mandated or discretionary for the use of the funds?
I think I understand, these were projects that we developed, like, maybe I don't understand your question.
Okay, usually when you have a public hearing, various interested groups come out and say, I would like to have a piece of that funding, okay?
Okay,
So, first of all, I didn't see anywhere in here how much money we're talking about.
yeah, and I can, answer those in reverse order.
Okay.
The amount, I get what you're saying, the amount piece is, the first project is 1 million, and the second, which is the mental health, is about 350,000 combined with the 4 proposals that are there. I think these are county-specific uses.
Okay, so
In
this is
other-
money that was set aside for the county to use for programmatic purposes.
Exactly, so,
That was fine.
yeah, I get what you're saying, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, we've done other programs, or like, for example, the legislative grant program and the CDBG small business grant programs that Colony has done, others have done, that are geared outward. And you obviously get more interest from a public standpoint when it's money going out into the community. But these are specific to, I mean, the land bank is obviously slightly
Yeah,
separate.
No, I get it. I didn't understand that it was just money allocated to the county and then programmatic use within the county.
Mr. Mayor,
Probably a base on this, but the CARES Act, and we were just talking about the nursing home and the lack of ability to hire people. Could this money be given to the nursing home to increase, under the CARES Act, to increase the salary?
So, this is a one-time fund, so partly I'd be cautious about using, just for straight salary increase for a one-time fund. I don't think that would fall, I'm thinking back through the buckets of funding, and I don't think that would fall into one of the eligible categories that they identified.
I was thinking of the coronavirus, people don't want to work at the nursing home.
Yeah. Well, I think, they're coming out with another round of funds, so we can look back and see if the qualifications or the categories have changed at all.
Make a motion?
okay, okay, so just explain your $1 million one more, that's for project 1 and project 2.
The first project, which is the land bank as a subrecipient, is $1 million, which is, given the amount of work involved with these properties, about on par with what you would need for a full, taking them from the status that they're in now to a fully readily occupiable, affordable housing project. They're actually, the reason these houses are clustered in this example is it will hopefully save costs, so you're not having a contractor look over here for one, here for the second, here for the third. There are 3 houses right next to each other, so there are some construction efficiencies there. But yeah, that one's
Oh, okay. How many houses is this?
3.
3 houses. You building them up from the ground?
Eventually, basically, that's how it will probably end up, or rehabilitation. But I think it's important to note, and obviously, Adam, I don't want to speak for Adam entirely, but this is going to complement other funding availabilities that have come recently from the state and from the feds that will allow the land bank to work with significantly more properties, upwards of potentially 30. That program has a cap in terms of the number of houses, but also there's a ratio of cost you have to, basically cost benefit you have to meet with that program. These would not fall into that because they're just more expensive. And so using this funding, which is 100% federal, to tackle the most challenging properties, complementing those other funding streams made sense. Does that answer your question?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, please, go ahead, 'cause I'm still.
Where are these homes located?
These are on Second Ave.
What number do you know?
Yeah, I can tell you. 45, 48, and 50. All land bank controlled, obviously.
So we're giving, I just need a little help.
Mhm.
So we're talking about 45 Second Avenue, 48 Second Avenue, and 50 Second Avenue.
Correct.
We're gonna spend $1 million, or is it up to $1 million? Or $1 million on 3 houses at the bottom of Second Avenue. So how much of those houses gonna be worth?
How much are they gonna be worth?
Yeah, I'm asking that question because I wanna know if we're gonna spend $1 million on 3 houses. Now, I'm asking you, build them up on the ground. Because across the street from me, they selling houses over there for $300,000-400,000. So what's 3 into $1 million? And who's gonna be able to buy these houses? At the bottom of Second Avenue?
So these are required to be affordable housing properties. That's part of the grant funding. They must,
Multi-unit?
2 per, yeah. They're required to be affordable housing. So these are not the only properties that the land bank is. There's a whole corridor of properties in that area that the land bank is utilizing state and federal funds to go after. These are by far the most, require the most work. Otherwise, they sit there. There's no other way to work it. I think they would be I don't think they're in the.
Sell, own, or occupied.
Yeah. I don't think they're in the land.
Is it me? Or, I'm just, I mean.
Who had that rehab down
I'm-
there? The first block.
Can
Yeah,
I
please.
follow up on
Yeah,
this a little
yeah.
bit? So the land bank is gonna be the owner of these at the end?
No, they're rehabilitating.
They're gonna rehabilitate, okay.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna take $1 million worth of CARES Act money. We're gonna rehabilitate 3 homes. The land bank's gonna do that,
Correct.
okay.
As part of a broader program, so the Legacy Cities program will also tackle 30 of these properties that are less upside down. And so you're rebuilding this neighborhood, and it's all addressing abandoned houses.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is we're being asked to do this as a loss leader to get the rest of
Right.
Yes.
the funding going on.
The only
But
way,
ultimately, who will own these? I mean, is the land bank gonna sell these for a loss?
You're gonna have to.
that most
It's
likely,
gonna be like that whole Sheridan Hollow thing that went on over there where tried to bring some restaurants and small businesses
That was
into
Habitat
mixed
for
use.
Humanity, but generally speaking, they did the exact same thing. They
Right.
invested with the knowledge that what was gonna be put into the properties is not what they were gonna get at. The land bank's done this as well. McPherson Terrace, for those who are familiar with that section of Clinton Avenue, they've done that because the properties were of historic nature, so in order to save the buildings, they had to put a lot more money into them than they got out of it. Moral of the story is that there are significant numbers of properties within the city of Albany whose investment in the properties far outweighs what the value would be after the investment. So they're not structurally unsound, but they are basically demolitions. So the county and the city is only able to demolish properties that are structurally unsound and pose a public safety risk. So we were able to take this funding, leverage it, and couple it with a couple other projects to hopefully, as Mr. Bergdorf said, kind of create a perfect storm of raising the values in an area high enough so that the value of the surrounding properties also begins to raise with it. And so this funding would be used for the most challenging properties because there's really no way, unless you're gonna demolish them, which Jeff Neal, everybody knows, would tell you is the only way that we lose money, because then you're just eliminating any appreciable asset whatsoever. It's the only real effective way to deal with it.
And the bottom line is you're taking vacant houses that otherwise have no investment appeal whatsoever and turning them into affordable housing. That's, not to put too fine a point on it.
But ultimately, they will go on the private tax roll and they will generate taxes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
What is the average value of these homes then?
I don't know. If, I can have Adam provide some specific answers after the fact.
You're spending roughly $300,000 each, and I can't believe that homes. And then this is not a historic home at all, right? These are not brick or,
I don't know.
well, you said they're demolished.
If-
Are they a wood structure or are they brick or?
I don't know what structure they are, but they're properties that are not structurally unsound, and therefore they're not eligible for public demolition, because that would constitute a gift. So we can't take them down for public safety reasons, so we would have to allow them, or the land bank would have to allow them to degrade to the point that they constituted that risk and then demolish them. Otherwise, they would have to sit on them until they found somebody who was, one, willing to put the money into the property that they know they're not gonna get out of it in value, or two, find some other investment mechanism to
What about
invest
the
in the
number
property.
48, second hand?
I mean,
I got 48.
it's part of a,
Couple are brick down the road with the big X, yeah, this is the one with the big X, probably the one we're talking about.
not every property, obviously, that the land bank rehabilitates is this costly. Generally, it's significantly less. You have different funding availabilities that we are trying to match up with the need of the different housing stock. So you're looking at the neighborhood holistically. Some, maybe they don't need any outside funding to address. Some are falling to the Legacy Cities program, and the most costly, this was a good complementary program
And it's not our money.
of funding that we otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's disappearing.
Could I ask, yeah,
Take the
is
money
there-
and run.
What's the,
would we prefer to spend county resource? I think the whole point, as Luke said, is to leverage funds that aren't,
that are going away?
that wouldn't be available otherwise.
I'll make a motion.
We wouldn't do this if we didn't have these funds. I mean, that's the.
So, all right, just to, pull this back into some kind of perspective. We're not necessarily guaranteed $1 million. We're just,
No, we haven't even submitted the application, so we're not guaranteed any dollars yet, but that is the ask for that.
okay, so, okay, I just, okay, we're asking for $1 million, but we may not necessarily spend $1 million on those 3 houses down there.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Adam made calculations based on their past experience, based on their expertise. When we go to, solicit
You know what?
contractors.
Let me say this, one thing I realized is that it's just saying, I'm gonna go back to this first sentence. Says the Office of the County Executive is requesting that the legislature schedule public hearings for these 2 block grants. So the questions that we're asking now can also be asked at the hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and of course,
We still have to approve this, right?
for the hearing.
But we have to vote on it after the.
vote to accept, yeah.
What are the
So
results?
the people making the decision on the
This
$1
is
million,
for the
is
hearing.
there any way we can prevent that?
Okay, so
from
this
seeing
is just for the
discussion?
public hearing.
We're sorry.
Well, I don't
Let's
think our
go to
audience
your
is, I don't think our numbers are too high in terms of audience, so I think we're okay.
Well, in actuality, we can't ask any questions at a public hearing.
No.
We have to listen,
But.
but it's coming back here.
Okay. All right,
Let's do this then.
Yeah.
I'll make a
Let's
motion.
do it.
all right, so this conversation that we can still have about this, okay, because I got questions on project number 2, which I'm gonna hold right now, but, on where the money is supposed to be going for that, because that's not set in stone either, is that correct?
We submitted pre-applications that paint broad strokes of these projects. The land bank one is a little bit more specific, because they came, they had a specific need. We have not fully developed the application, so there's some, we can discuss in great detail what we are envisioning, but it's not submitted yet, so.
So what was number 2 again?
It was a combination of mental health services. So it was, do you want to go into it?
No, not the specific pieces, but it was.
About 340,000 for partially offsetting newly, recent services or existing services, and partially piloting programs that have been identified as a need for a long time, that this funding could pilot, and then we've sort of for each identified, if it goes well, other funding streams we could
Okay.
try and access using that data to continue them.
Okay.
So in project number 2, where it says underserved areas, okay? I mean, and even in, I'm looking at these terms that, you've thrown out here. And in project 1 where it says, additional affordable home ownership opportunities, again, for underserved and vulnerable populations, okay? And so, my issue, you arrived at the hill towns, when right now, the city of Albany is going to hell in a handbasket with, murders and shootings, okay? And so, I don't know how you decided on the hill towns.
So
And I just want to make a statement, I do believe in a balanced delivery of services, okay? But, I have to say something in regards to that.
So this
Because there's definitely need for
proposal,
mental health services
think-
right here in the city of Albany.
I think this proposal achieves a balance. You've got number 1 and number 2 are both, due to the statistics of who we serve at mental health, will be predominantly city-focused programs. Number 4, as we all know, is associated with a program that's being piloted right now in the hill towns, and then there's talk of where does it go after that. So it's certainly not in all hill towns, all suburban, all city. It's dictated by the population that the mental health department serves. So if you're talking about dollars geographically, it's pretty spread with probably an emphasis on the city and then the, touching on the Accord program.
Okay, I'm gonna say this and then I'll everybody must make a motion they can. And I'm just going to make this statement. Right now, the need outweighs trying to say, okay, if we gave, we took project number 1 and we put it in the city. And so we decided to take project number 2 and give it to the hill towns. That is not balanced, because right now, there are services that everybody in the whole state knows, including the governor. We have issues right here that need to be addressed, okay? And today, okay, they had the city blocked off up in Arbor Hill, okay, in regards to another shooting. So when you tell me, because we gave you something in project 1, and there's also a need for the services to try and put out in project 2, but you're gonna give it to the hill towns because, you gave the first one to the city.
I think that's a bit of a mischaracterization. I understand
I'm
what you're
just listening
saying.
to what you said, I'm just repeating
I
back
understand
to
what
you
you're
what you said to me.
So, I don't wanna go number by number, because that's not how we approach this.
Okay.
The Accord program is an existing program, that
Yes,
is
it
a
is.
pilot.
And
So-
we allocated dollars for that and personnel.
Right, and so, part of that is, in this application, is about, because it's a need identified for resources by mental health, is about supporting that program existing. Another part of that, in number 4, is about, okay, this will be piloted, evaluated, and then where do you go next? So there will be budget money set aside for where, if it's determined that it should be expanded for the future. So it's not entirely a Hilltown or a Albany thing, it's about looking at the program. Each of these, number 1, LEAD is, and I don't want to get into a geographic discussion for each one, but they're all programs that really, if you drill down into them, address some of the needs that you were just talking about. So I'm not disputing the need in any way, and I hear you.
Mr. Bergeron?
I was just going to say, Madam Chairwoman, I kind of read the RLA the same way that Luke is describing it. Project 1 is 100% in the city of Albany. Project 2, numbers 1 and 2 are really countywide, right?
If I may, Project 1 only operates within the city of Albany.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That's what I mean.
And
Project
just to put a little background to what 2 is, 2 is about,
There are 4 components of 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And number 1 is, under Project 2, is expanding law enforcement assisted diversion. Albany law enforcement diversion, so that's for the city of Albany. Number 2, improving outcomes and cross-systems management of Albany County mental health patient services. That's for the whole county. And this is just of the smallest portion of the total. So,
Okay, so, I know what you're trying to get across to me, but I haven't spent a couple of hours on this today already. So, I know you're looking at this now and trying to read this bit, but I didn't get this earlier when this was discussed. Just like I didn't get the $1 million earlier when this was discussed. I get the $1 million now, okay? Which I was hoping when I got it earlier, if we had got it earlier, we wouldn't be spending the time now, because then everybody would have had a full understanding about the $1 million thing. Now I'm gonna go to this project number 2, okay? I talked to you about the balanced delivery of services. The Accord money, I did not understand that this was for Accord. That I thought was clear earlier today, that this was not to increase the Accord program, okay? Because Mr. Peter brought up the fact that we had put the money in for the Accord program and the services. So now, my thing is this. From now on, every time something comes up for mental health, we're gonna put it in the Hilltowns. I understand that the Hilltowns needed services. At the same time too, I don't care if we're putting money into Project 1 to the city of Albany, okay? I know this much. We need mental health services also in the city of Albany. And you're right, you're talking about $1 million as opposed to $390,000. We got problems, real big problems. And like I just told you, this afternoon, they was over there on Livingston Avenue again, okay? I got people calling my phone. I can't go to church without somebody telling me, so-and-so's son is in ICU. He got shot in the back because he was caught in crossfire. I can go on and on and on, okay? So I will not allow you to try to explain this away to me, why this money should still not go to Project 2 in the city of Albany. I'm only speaking to this because, don't tell me I'm real passionate about it, you're doggone right I am. Because I'm living with this, not only my constituents are living with this, from the 1st ward all the way up to the 11th ward. Those people are living with this. And so you don't want to give us $390,000 for more services as far as mental health is concerned? I got an issue with that. So this time around, I'm just saying, we need to go to where we know that there is a problem. If the governor can call a state of emergency due to gun violence, there's something else that goes along with that too. So what are we gonna do? We can't put money up too and say it's okay to give the money to where it's needed? Because, we need to divide it up between the hill towns and the city? No. In this case right here, I just can't sit here idly and not say anything. And I do believe in everybody getting something, but right now, I believe in the folks that need it, they should get it first, because the need is so great.
Can I make a suggestion that we table this until this is thoroughly discussed again, and maybe address more need for the city?
If I may, of the 390,000 that was being proposed in this pre-application, only 20,000 was going to expand mental health and substance use disorder treatment provision in the rural hill towns. The first proposal for increasing client engagement capacity within LEAD operates solely within the city of Albany. That would be for potentially even expanding how people are brought into LEAD case management, potentially through like contact referrals as opposed to just contact with law enforcement. That again only operates within the city of Albany. There's not enough case managers working for Catholic Charities. There's issues with retention there. This is trying to support and backdrop some of that. Improving outcomes, Plan 2 of the mental health proposal, improving outcomes in cross-systems management of the Albany County Mental Health Patient Services Coordinating Committee. That would be again something that operates countywide, but realistically, the majority of the recipients of these services are within the city of Albany. That was another 150,000 for a program like that, and again, that's something that's very innovative. That's something that the state is looking, that's the type of program the state is potentially looking to fund in the future. We're just trying to kind of get the ball rolling on some of these in order to respond to the immediate need that's been brought about, but also kind of prepare for impending need that will exist. And then Plan 3, which is what I just mentioned, 20,000 to expand mental health and substance use disorder treatment provision in the hill towns, 20,000 for that. That's because a grant that was awarded to the Department of Mental Health isn't able to be used for what we were looking to use it for. It needed to be modified. In the hill towns, their only provider of mental health services and counseling services went kaput during the pandemic. They retired, so they're no longer offering services out there, period. This would be to kind of explore having an extension office out in the hill towns. That's not to take away from what's already being offered by our mental health department within the city of Albany. It's to say, okay, where is their need, and go to that need on top of the services being provided in the city, because there's absolutely no services happening out in the hill towns. And then the last one was frankly like an opportunity to potentially offset some of the costs associated with the Accord program. And yes, it is a longer discussion about how that money can be used and what it can be used for. And I think that that's why we're in front of you today, to try to have that discussion, flesh some of this out, and work to getting in an application. We haven't even had approval to write an application yet, so it's just kind of, we're here to do that.
Are there time constraints on this if we table this?
It would be possible to split it.
Okay, all right, so,
I mean, it is one-time funding, so it's not gonna be here forever,
Yeah.
you know.
Is there time restraint?
Well, it was originally due at the end of August. There is gonna be a slight extension, but
okay, all right, so, let me just say this. I think the presentation should have started out with just a little bit more detail, okay? And I would say that my colleagues here we're pretty much, if you're gonna bring something to us, you know we're gonna ask questions. Tonight, I asked more questions than usual. I took over Mr. Bergdorf's, spot.
Mr. Evans not here.
And, but because of the times that we are in now, and because I spoke to you earlier, I just felt that the presentation should have started out with a lot more information. We got a few little pages here, something that really is, you know, has huge impact on the type of services we're gonna provide to the people that we represent, okay? I understand the crunch because we got to do the hearing, and so that the time has to be set for the hearing, and then we have to vote on it again. So we pretty much can't do anything right now because we do want the money, if we are going to be able to, you know, get it. I understand that, okay? So, I guess,
That's gonna make a motion.
okay, but I am gonna have to accept the motion, for
Seconded.
this. And a second. But with the understanding too, that I still hope that there is a much more discussion that's gonna be had on this, you know, and, better explanation of how we're gonna, you know.
Can I just make a suggestion that
Yes, Mr. O'Brien.
these different agencies are getting this money, maybe they could come and discuss with them.
Right, and that's the other thing, it just grew, you know, on who it was. And the whole thing with the $1 million, I'm still a little flabbergasted by that. I'm great that we can get it, but with 3 houses, you know, I think I might wanna move down there, you know? So we just need more discussion.
Which was your sister?
And you've named several different, agencies now, so.
Well,
Okay, so
we like,
let
we
me
like
say this real
discussion,
quick.
so.
I got a motion from Mr. Mayo, I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right. But we would like to, I want to respond to what Mr. O'Brien said. We would like to, talk to the different agencies that are going to be providing these.
Yeah, no, we're happy, listen, I handle a lot of our grants, and this is the procedural stuff in the grant, so that's why I'm presenting it. But there's, both the land bank and mental health, I'm sure would be happy to answer any and all
Well,
questions.
we have to vote on it after the public hearing, I would suggest that they be here.
Mhm. All right, so, I want to thank you, you know, for your time tonight, and right now, motion to adjourn.
Motion?
I got a motion and I got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.